Some wonderful comments from one of the best, huh? David, thank you for sharing again. The lights were dim when we introduced these very nice people. For once more time at least, would Ellen, Joe, and also, is it Lauren or Lori? Laura. If the Gill family would please stand. What a great tribute. I know you honor your father and grandfather by being here today, and it's an honor to us. By the way, the Historical Society will be open afterward for those of you who could like to drop by. Now, without further ado, the man of the hour. He was, as you know, the son of Jim Roos, and he was only 11 years old when you guys had the incredible season that we're talking about. But he was at, I think, every game, and he said he idolized the Spuds players. Folks, as Jim moved on and finally settled in Tell City, Mike, you know, if you're going to talk about a sport, you better know what you're talking about. He started at forward for 3 years under a great coach, a Hall of Famer by the name of Bob Lottmuller at Tell City. Mike then went on and got his bachelor's degree from the University of Evansville. He got a master's in English from the University of Miami at Ohio, and was there that he was hired as a he was hired as a professor of English at the University of Cincinnati Blue Ash campus in 1976, and he's remained there ever since. Folks, he has published numerous scholarly articles on people like Ernest Hemingway, Bob Dylan, and John Lennon. He's also a very talented guy as a singer and songwriter, and he has released 3 CDs of his own music. Now, he began the writing odyssey and project that became One Small Town, One Crazy Coach. Actually, it was after the 40th anniversary 10 years ago. It is from there where we'll let him pick up, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. Folks, it's an honor to introduce. I know it's an honor for you to have him here. He's thrilled that you're here. Would you please welcome author and Ireland graduate, Mr. Mike Roos.
Thank you, Mike. I'm overwhelmed, really, by the showing here today. It's great. Thank you all for coming here, and it's tremendous. It really is. It's been a long journey. It took a long time to get to this point, hasn't it, Dave? You know, you've been with me the whole way. And you know what? I came up here. Things were so confusing. I don't have my notes. Who stole my notes? There they are. Mom, you stole my notes. There they are.
You did write the book, didn't you?
I think so. You know, this is the time when really I'm supposed to take off my pants and throw them into the crowd. But I did something that Pete Gill didn't do in 1963. I ran the idea by my dad. And he said, oh, no, better not do that, better not do that. So I'm not going to take off my pants and throw them into the crowd, but there was another thing that we ran by my dad, and that was my dear mother wanted to provide some refreshment for everybody here today. She was going to make punch. You know, isn't that nice? She was going to make punch for everybody. And Vincent was going to bake cookies, and we were going to have cookies and punch for everybody here today. And we ran it by Dad, and he said, no, you don't want to do that. He said, you'll have to clean up the mess. And I think what he was thinking of was that time after the Ferdinand game, when, was Connie here? Connie Leinbach? Connie's not? Okay. There was a little incident after that game, and where there was a cup of Coca-Cola and ice that got tossed into the face of a Ferdinand player who they had just been pretty much trounced by the Spuds that night, and he wasn't very happy. So they got into it after the game. Connie she tossed the Coke into his face, and he deserved it. And there was a little Coke and ice on the floor out here, playing floor, and Dad came running up, of course, as principal, and broke up the fracas there and settled everything down. The Ferdinand player went off, and I think he put a dent in the door, didn't he, on his way out? But then he called the janitor, John Rodkey, and said, "John, could you please get a mop so we can clean up this mess?" And John went over to the janitor's closet, got the mop, walked over to Dad, and handed it to him. Walked away. I think that's what Dad was thinking of when he nixed the idea of the punch in the cookies today. So, one of the stories that are in the book, I tell you, it was a labor of love. It really was, and you know, it's going to be hard for me to hold my emotions together because this has been quite a journey. And there were people that, you know, I think along the way, I think I really came to identify so much with Pete and the notion of what it is to be crazy, what for people to think is crazy. Because I think at the start of this process, a lot of people thought it was a crazy idea to want to write this book. Even Dad said, "You really want to do that? You really want to write a book about that team? Because, you know, it's going to be a lot of work. And you know, how many people are really going to want to read that?" Well, I started the process in 2003. I had a sabbatical at the University of Cincinnati. Thank them for providing me with a year off to do this, because I really did need it to make the journey down here several times to interview people and players on the team, townsfolk, people that aren't here, that certainly deserve to be mentioned, that I interviewed very early on in the process, that aren't living, who have not lived to see this day. And that's, you know, one of the regrets that I have, that I wasn't able to finish it in time for all of those people to see the book come to fruition. But people like Levi Leinenbach was one of the first that I interviewed, and of course we have to mention and remember Red Kosh, special person. Remember Red, you know, everybody knows Red, knows what I'm talking about, and why I might get emotional, because he was just a great guy, and I'm so sorry that Red can't be here today. But let me remember some other people I definitely need to thank. All the people that are here today. I mean, world class. Geez, guys, man, you talk about tough acts to follow. All three of these guys here. Thank you so much for coming and being willing to speak. I'm overwhelmed with honor that you guys would do this for this occasion. Couldn't ask for more. Certainly want to thank my good friend Don Diker, who's here somewhere, was here earlier. Don, wave your hand. There it is, Don Diker, who's a professor emeritus at the University of Miami, in English, greatest professor you will ever find anywhere on the planet, I guarantee you. And he was an early supporter, reader of the book as well. A great Hoosier fan as well. I know he told me that he had a son who played high school basketball in Oxford, Ohio, and watched Hoosiers before every game that he played. His son did, so that's how serious that family was about their Indiana basketball. Of course, I want to thank the Historical Society and Junie for their support, and of course remind everybody too that the proceeds of the sales today of both books will go to benefit the Historical Society. So a little bit to pay back what they've done to support this whole process all the way through. Indiana University Press, who believed in it as well. I'll say more about that whole process in a little bit here. Everybody who had pre-ordered the book, who had some faith in it, obviously, before they had seen it, to pre-order the book back in the spring when it was made available online. Thank you very much. Dave Small deserves absolutely extra special mention here, that this could not have come to this point without his great help and assistance all the way through. Thank you, Dave. We've become very close friends in the whole process, and provided invaluable information and just help, just making this happen today. Really, I think this would not have happened without Dave. So, thank you so much, Dave. And others who aren't, I wanted to mention as well. Besides Levi, I mentioned Levi and Red, and Pete Ware. I interviewed Pete, and he passed away and is not here. And Father Carl Shetler, who played a very important role. I think he certainly was a father figure in more ways than one to Joe Lentz, who's not here with us today either. But Father Carl Shetler deserves to be mentioned as somebody who played a role in contributing to the success of the 62-63 Spuds. I absolutely want to thank my parents for their tremendous support and guidance through everything, whole life story, I guess you could say, right? And but couldn't ask for more support from parents than what they've given me throughout this process. And my dear partner Minson, who's here, the photographer, I want to thank her today too. All right, maybe I'm past the most emotional points here, and things will be a little bit easier from now on. One thing I wanted to say, talk about people saying, why did you want to write a book about the 62-63 Spuds, and what is special about this? There've been lots of questions like that. Why would you want to read this book? But for me, it was a question: why would I want to write this book and take the amount of time that I did take? 10 years ultimately to get to this point. As a basketball player at Tell City, I played on some good teams. We won the sectional 3 years in a row, but first of all, that experience showed me how difficult it is. We did win sectionals 3 years in a row, but it was never easy. Bob Ransom here can attest to how difficult his Perry Central teams made it for us. Even when we had the home field advantage, boy, it took a 50-foot shot in 1969 by Fred Warner at the gun, at the buzzer, to win that game 41-39, I think it was. Sorry, Bob. That was a very memorable moment in Tell City High School history, I guarantee you that. But every year, all 3 years, we went down to Evansville, the regional, and we fell flat on our faces and couldn't get beyond that wall down there. So it was hard. It was tough in those days to get through a sectional, even if you had the home court advantage. Ireland, of course, never had the home court advantage, and obviously until 1963 they were never able to bring home the trophy of the sectional. Basically, Jasper and Huntingburg pretty much dominated, winning about 2/3 of the sectionals throughout the 40s and 50s anyway. There was some small school success in the 30s, but it became more and more sparse. Holland, I think, was the last small school to win the sectional before 1963, and they had done it maybe in 53, 54, I don't know the exact year off the top of my head anyway. But after that, it had been dominated by Jasper, Huntingburg, Springs Valley until the Spuds in 63. And the 62 Ireland team was probably the best Ireland team in Ireland history, and everybody thought that was the best chance. Dave and Joe were the guards on that team, but they had a strong front line of Ron Vonderheide and Dave Baer and Bill Small that were sizable guys and scorers, and that was a really great team. And they came up against Jasper in the championship game and went down 59-51. That sort of summed up the frustration for this town, and a lot of people in the town thought that was our best shot, that was it. Then Vonderheide, Baer, and Small graduated, and we had the good guards returning, but not much size up front, and so a lot of people thought that team wasn't going to win more than 5 games. and forget about any success in the tournament.